Part 99. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 987. Another 10 minutes passed, and Zhou Chang still didn't come out. Tao ran through a few small speakers out again. She took out the dragon's beard again and became familiar with the heart moves at will. With her strong mental power, she can skillfully control the dragon's whiskers in just 3 minutes. Tao Ran found another piece of anaconda skin that he had brought last time from his backpack, and wrapped 10 centimeters thinly around the head of the dragon's beard as a handle. He then made a buckle out of the python skin and inserted it into a ring. In this way, as long as you wear the ring, you are not even afraid that the whip will fall off. She officially performed a whole set of tricks with this special whip. She was very pleased with the results. The length of the dragon's whiskers can be controlled by herself, allowing her to attack at close range or at mid-range. Coupled with her lightness skills and body skills, she is like a cunning assassin. In particular, every blow of the dragon's beard brings out the light and righteousness of the hidden world. Even if it does not cleanse away, it still has the effect of shocking the evil spirits. It's very reassuring to use. If this is used to restrain Elizabeth's dark power, it will definitely have a miraculous effect. It would be great if this whip could bring out the game. However, after doing all this, Zhou Chang has not come out yet. Tao Ran couldn't wait any longer. She threw a few more small speakers, left a message for Zhou Chang, and entered the 100th floor. As for upgrading the assistant, let's wait until she comes out. On the 100th floor, there is no illusion. Just a familiar white space. A chair and a helmet. Just as Tao Ran was about to move forward, he received a ding. When I clicked on it, I saw scrolling information in red letters. If a player passes the 100 floor test, the elimination will be enabled. The stair passage on the 70th floor of the tower will be closed immediately. All players below the 70th floor will be eliminated immediately. Players are requested to continue their efforts and work hard to rise. Tao Ran knew that Zhou Chang had finally stepped out of the 100th floor. This guy is cheap. There will definitely be no shortage of rewards for clearing hundreds of levels of the game. 5 seconds later, Zhou Chang sent a message. Tao Ran told him not to wait, but to seize the time and continue going up. Afterwards, Tao Ran sat down on the chair and put on his helmet. Electronic sounds also sounded. Congratulations on entering the 100th floor. Thank you, players. There are no tasks in this level, but rewards for every hard-working player. Tao Ran frowned. Didn't understand. Every player has put in a lot of effort to get here, and after 100 levels, no matter whether the player can pass the level or not, he will eventually return to the original world. For this reason, this game also gives great sincerity and tries its best to provide every player with the best possible experience. Some help from a player who has struggled with the game. I believe that every player has something to ask for when joining the survival game, and this level is to scan and deal with your difficulties in order to generate subsequent rewards for each player. Whether you have a request, are confused, or have difficulties, you can now ask the system for help. The system will do its best to generate answers, solutions, or results requested by players to help players solve their problems. Tao Ran sounded specious. It was only after communicating with the assistant that she fully understood it. In other words, this level is to report what you want to the system. The system will give rewards as gifts. For example, if Zhou Chang and others are looking for someone, seeking medical advice, or solving problems, they can do so now. The electronic voice sounded again, please give the players their appeal. I want to break the curse, I want to get rid of the demon, how will the system help me? Can you help me break the curse directly and kill the demon directly? Assistant, no, sister. The system cannot interfere with the player's life. But the system can provide solutions to the problem and help the player solve the problem on his own. Ran asked his assistant to communicate with the system and ask for clarification. These days, Ran occasionally chats with the assistant. The assistant basically knows Ran's current situation and desires. The assistant informed him a minute later. Sister can now let go of all the memories about Elizabeth in her memory. The system will scan and analyze and generate an illusion. Since Sister will have to eliminate the demon sooner or later, it is better to seize this opportunity and try to kill Elizabeth. The Elizabeth born from the illusion will be a very detailed synthesis, and combined with the characteristics of the vampire, all her behaviors will be simulated to the greatest extent. In addition, the sister will have 3 opportunities to simulate killing it. Sister, take good care of it. Listen, it's a pretty good trial. Did the system say how similar its maximum simulation is to reality? At least 40%, and at most 90%. This is related to the data given by Sister and the state of the simulation object itself. So the data given by Sister must be as detailed as possible. Sister, I think this is a good opportunity. Practice makes perfect. More practice it a few times and at least your chances of success in the future will be greatly increased. It's indeed a great opportunity. With such a simulation opportunity, what worries does she have? No wonder Zhou Chang spent so long on this level. This is destined to be a level that every player will cherish. Ran closed his eyes and began to recall her illness and everything about Elizabeth. From Elizabeth's every move after each mission to the several times Elizabeth appears in her dreams, all the information is given in detail. The red line on the helmet flashed, extracting and recording her memory. The first illusion is generated. When she opened her eyes again, she was in the void. In the passage leading back to the real world, Elizabeth suddenly appeared, intercepted her, blocked the way, and looked up at her beautiful and terrifying face, startling Ran. Reward, she held out her hand. Ran handed over the treasure box that he had prepared. Elizabeth opened the box and her eyes widened. At this time, Ran launched an attack at her. Take advantage of her illness and kill her. Elizabeth has been very weak recently, and Ran has long wanted to take action. She had to try. What if it worked? Ran struck out the dragon's whip with bursts of lightning. Elizabeth screamed, moaned, and cursed. Ran's spiritual energy crystal was in his hand, and he used the dragon's whisker to shoot out a steady stream of spiritual energy. The majestic righteousness directly turned Elizabeth's beautiful figure into an afterimage, and finally turned into wisps of black smoke and disappeared before her eyes. Did you win? It turns out, it's not that simple. 5 seconds later, Ran's head began to hurt violently. And the suffocating feeling caused by the illness that she had missed for a long time came back again. Wave after wave of oppression made her unable to get up from her knees. Elizabeth's voice came in her soul, you want to take advantage of my weakness to deal with me? You are thinking too much. What you smashed is just a phantom of mine. There is only one end for disobedient chess pieces, and that is destruction. Elizabeth's familiar high-pitched laughter sounded. Ran had a splitting headache and rolled on the ground. Kill me and no one will help you. You don't have to worry about it. I've been salivating over your delicacies for a long time. I originally wanted to keep you for a few more tasks, but since you're not good, I might as well eat you first to make up for it. Then your faith is enough. I'm looking for more puppets. Ha ha ha. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 988. In fantasy. Ran struggled. She tried her best to summon the wood spirit in her soul, and tried her best to circulate the continuous spiritual energy. She finally saw the wood spirit and the golden and black threads in her soul. The wood spirit's vine body has been wrapped with black thread, and it is trying to tighten it tighter and tighter, hoping to cut off the black thread. The black thread also grew from long to thick, trying hard to break the vine body. Taoran had tried her best to pull the spiritual energy, but the energy she relied on external objects to transport was still not enough compared to the dark matter planted in her soul. Even though Taoran took out all 3 aura crystals he had obtained, he was still unable to stop the majestic, powerful, and suppressive black energy of gold and green. After all, the black air enveloped the wood spirit's leaves. The color of the leaves quickly turned lighter and yellower. Taoran's delivery had reached the highest level of her ability. She was sweating profusely, her body was shaking, and mouthfuls of blood could not be suppressed and overflowed from the corners of her mouth. She tried her best. But compared to the endless black energy, the spiritual energy she mobilized was the difference between a small river and a vast ocean. The Kadama's leaves fell off. The wood spirit's vine body withered. The wood spirit turned into a vine trunk, and eventually dissipated into bits of golden light, without being able to break the black thread it was holding onto. Taoran lost. Not only did she fail to change her fate, all her efforts also benefited Elizabeth and became the nourishment for the revival of vampires. No matter how unwilling she is, it won't help. She saw her body hanging in the void, ethereal, ethereal. The illusion is broken. Taoran was so exhausted that he took off his helmet and lay down directly on the ground. "Sister." The assistant's eyes were red and she wanted to comfort her, but she didn't know how to speak. "Leave me alone. The shock of failure is still quite big." Seeing his body floating there, Taoran felt extremely frustrated. In fact, Mengdaoran had already done it several times by raping Elizabeth. But she didn't expect that even with the dragon whisker and the spiritual energy crystal, she would still be beaten like this. To lose so miserably, the disparity in strength is too great. Taoran analyzed it for himself. This loss at least shows that this kind of sneak attack is not feasible. Even if we really want to carry out a sneak attack one day, we still have to figure out which clone of Elizabeth is and where is her real location. Secondly, as long as the restriction in his soul is not removed, it may be difficult to escape Elizabeth's strong control. Even if the restriction is difficult to clear, we still have to find a way to strengthen the wood spirit. Taoran rested for a full 10 minutes before starting the second illusion. Entering the initial stage is the same as last time, in the void. Elizabeth was still waiting there, asking her for the reward for this game. Taoran obediently handed over the treasure box he had prepared. This time, Taoran did not dare to act rashly and behaved well. The treasure box was opened out of thin air, and the contents inside disappeared. Elizabeth on the other side swallowed them directly. Taoran originally thought that Elizabeth would just leave and digest the tonic first, but unexpectedly she just hung in the air and burst out laughing wildly. She spread her limbs and a red light flashed on her body, as if she was enjoying the effects of the elixir. Then, she floated in front of Taoran and came close to Taoran's ear. "What else are you hiding?" "Taoran, we agreed that each person would receive half of the reward, but I only have the other half here." "Isn't it more?" Elizabeth's nails suddenly grew longer and she attacked Taoran. Taoran retreated urgently. "There is really only the other half." Elizabeth's face suddenly fell, and her eyes turned red. Nails struck, and Taoran swung his sword. "You turned against me. How dare you attack me?" Taoran felt a sudden pain in his head, and his mind was at a loss for a moment. When she came to her senses again, Elizabeth's long and sharp nails had wrapped around her neck. "You lied to me. I smell something secret on you. I hate that kind of divine scent." Taoran couldn't get away from Elizabeth, and felt suffocated. This time, she hung up faster than the last time. A minute later, her body was floating in the void. And everything on her body was looted by Elizabeth. Elizabeth destroyed the mighty dragon's beard and took away the aura crystal, while her soul became a delicious meal for vampires. After this level, I became even more depressed. But he also reminded Taoran. This time, Elizabeth assured her to come to the survival world and allowed her to take half of the reward first. She was obviously not afraid of her hiding anything. But the reason why she is willing to come to the game world this time is to get some good things to take back. Baby, she must hide it. So the system analysis is correct. When the game is over, Elizabeth will be waiting for inspection, robbery, on her way back. Then a real problem was exposed here in Tauran. If she wants to avoid being robbed, she must first ensure that Elizabeth doesn't discover her secret. How should she hide it? Even if there is such a thing as a foldable backpack, what about the breath? Just like the illusion just now, Elizabeth will sense some good things. The assistant was advising. Sister, don't worry. As far as I know, the better your ranking in the game, the more requests you can make. I will help my sister communicate at that time. If we can't solve the problem, the system will definitely have a solution. Tauran hummed and let the third illusion begin. Of course, she asked her assistant not to be in the void anymore and changed the settings. The illusion arises. Then, Tauran came to Elizabeth's castle hall. The view outside the window is full of fiery red roses, and the window sills are densely covered with dark green vines. The castle is resplendent, yet weird and cold, with handmade carpets, golden thrones, aura of decay, and gusts of wind, all exactly as in memory. And the woman half lying on the throne is Elizabeth. The dark eyes and disdainful expression are both lifelike. What a realistic fantasy indeed. Coming, Elizabeth raised her hand and a glass of wine was placed in front of Tauran. Tauran thanked him and put the wine glass aside. This time Tauran's setting is 3 months later. It was Elizabeth who asked her to start the mission again. It was Tauran who had already practiced the dragon song technique and absorbed the spiritual energy crystal. Tauran brought a gift to Elizabeth, which was smeared with poison. Specially designed to defeat the poison of evil spirits. There are restrictions in the gift box, and they will activate automatically when you open them. A restriction designed to trap evil spirits. Unexpectedly, Elizabeth was so cunning that she didn't even reach out. Instead, she motioned to her pet cat to come up and get the box. A minute later, the pet cat fell to the ground and twitched. His face was already torn, and Tauran couldn't pretend any longer, so he had no choice but to strike first. She always believed that the magic of her great country could also suppress the evil in the West. So she tapped her fingertips with spiritual energy, and punched out a powerful confinement talisman drawn in the air. The moment the golden talisman flew out, Elizabeth was burned by the strong light. The confinement talisman hit Elizabeth's head, and a burst of black smoke came out. Thank you Xiaoao for the reward, thank you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 989. Elizabeth called the talisman and smashed it, and she was indeed imprisoned. But that time is only 1 second. Then, because she was poisoned and attacked, she became furious. Tauran, on the other hand, had already tried his best. Martial arts, weapons, spiritual power, talismans, and even the sealing techniques learned in the underground palace and from old man Changfeng all greeted Elizabeth. Elizabeth's initial parry was a bit difficult, and she even suffered several injuries. Her whole image lost the elegance and enchantment before, and instead became full of darkness. But she adapted quickly. I'm afraid you forgot whose territory this is. After several rounds of fighting with Tauran, Elizabeth raised her scepter and saw the sky outside suddenly darken. Looking closer, it turns out that the sky is full of black crows flying towards me. At least, hundreds or thousands. They flew in from the window, and then all flew towards Tauran one by one. Tauran drew his sword without hesitation. One by one the crows were chopped down. But streaks of black energy also flew out of the crow's body and lingered around her. Taoran used his spiritual power as a barrier to keep out the layers of black mist. But Elizabeth launched wave after wave of attacks on her. Soon, Taoran's spiritual power ran out of replenishment, but Elizabeth's black mist was continuously maintained by energy. The final result is obvious. The one who lay down first was Taoran. The last scene was when Taoran saw Elizabeth coming forward again, showing her fangs. The illusion is broken again. Too difficult. There is still no good way to deal with Elizabeth. In the fantasy, she was being crushed, but in reality, everything would only become more troublesome and difficult. The only thing she can be sure of is that China's methods of suppressing evil are also effective. After she goes back and thinks about it, she will find a way. All three illusions have ended. The electronic screen showed that the data for the three illusions had been packaged. Taoran's clearance score would determine the quality of the reward. I hope she can make good use of it and achieve good results. The assistant also explained, "Sister, all the content in the fantasy world will be made into data, and you can take it away for research after you clear the level. If your sister has good grades, the system will allocate the best suggestions and rewards to her. Can the reward you give me help me solve my difficulties?" "Yes, sister." "No. She really needs to work harder." The assistant reminded again, "Sister, don't forget the 100th floor, you still have 2 opportunities to hunt for treasure." "I remember it." As soon as they finished speaking, the electronic screen also started asking them if they would start the treasure hunt. The next second after pressing yes, Taoran arrived in a new space. "What a treasure hunt! In front of you is a mountain that is 30 meters high, Treasure Mountain. A mountain made of treasure chests. At a glance, every treasure box is exactly the same except for the different color of the lock. There are at least thousands of treasure chests here, right?" After telling her that she could choose any 2 treasure chests, the system and the electronic screen became unresponsive. Taoran could only ask the assistant again, "What should I choose?" "Assistant, luck, just luck. There are no rules. Just choose the treasure chest that suits your taste. Is my luck considered good or bad?" With such questions, Taoran began to explore. The treasure chests she dug out were piled at least 3 meters high before she reached into the hole she dug out. After digging inside for a while, she finally pulled out 2 treasure chests. After clasping her hands together in prayer, she picked up the first treasure box. The assistant told her not to have too much hope. What came out of this box should be the treasure hunt opportunity on the 50th floor. After all, what she wanted when she was on the 50th floor and what she wants now are definitely different. Sure enough, Taoran ordered a set of clothes. The kind without gender. In addition to the original functions of the clothes, this set also has attributes. After wearing it, the total attack power and defense power will be upgraded by 5%. As the assistant said, if this treasure were found on the 50th floor, it would be an excellent item. But now, it doesn't seem to make much sense. Alas, she blamed herself for forgetting at the time. Taoran put on his clothes and continued to open the second treasure box. This time there was a scroll inside. There are notes on it. Invisibility scroll. Hold the scroll in your hand and recite the incantation silently, and the scroll's function will take effect immediately. The player will disappear on the spot and be teleported to any place the player wants to go within 100 meters. If the player does not indicate where to go within 10 seconds, the player will be teleported to a random location, and the invisibility will expire after 1 minute. There are 3 chances to use this scroll. The assistant felt that Taoran was very lucky and was saying congratulations, but Taoran sighed. "This thing is good, but it's a pity that I can't take it with me. It would be good to use it against Elizabeth." After walking out of the 100th floor, Taoran took out the dragon whisker whip and planned to greet the white dragon. But the assistant stopped her. "Sister, why don't you upgrade me first?" The assistant looked a little embarrassed. "Further up is the battlefield, and I'm afraid you won't be able to do it by then. And I've become smarter, so I can help you more, right?" Taoran looked at the little assistant and immediately saw that the little girl had other thoughts in mind. As an actor myself, I can understand those veiled eyes. In fact, Taoran had considered upgrading before entering the 100th floor, but his points at that time were less than 11,000. If she spent 10,000 points to upgrade, she wouldn't even have 1,000 points left. She was afraid that she would run into a similar hurdle as before when she was asked to buy medicine. She didn't know what to do and felt uneasy, so she didn't rush to upgrade. "After looking at my current points, I can barely count on 10,000 points. By the way, who said I had to raise you to level 10, Taoran joked with a smile. "Sister." The assistant was obviously panicked. Sister is the first to raise the little assistant to level 10. Not only is it an honor, but there may also be a reward. While the assistant was talking, Taoran had already submitted 10,000 points and left. "Never mind. Give the little girl some face." The assistant burst into tears again. This time, he was crying loudly and out of breath. "Are you so excited?" Taoran laughed. The system's red scrolling world news has also arrived. Congratulations to the mysterious player for successfully upgrading his assistant to the highest level, level 10. Taoran was glad that the system finally did not reveal her name this time, otherwise her little bonus would have been lost to other players' chances. The card is clean. The system rewards 3,666 points and a transportation tool wheel. The world chat area suddenly exploded. Grade 10? So fast? Transportation. Is there such a thing in the game? Taoran knew clearly that this tool was probably for the future battlefield. You can't go to war on foot, right? The system message is not over yet. The mysterious player completed the first 100 levels to upgrade the assistant to the highest level, which is the fastest record in the history of game settings. The player will receive a mysterious gift from the system. All bonuses for the player will increase by 3%, and mid-level weapons will be unlocked save at once. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 990. As soon as the system message came out, the entire world channel exploded. WTF? Who is this guy? They don't have to worry about the weapons arsenal or anything like that for the time being, but the increase in bonuses will make people greedy to death. In the world news column, there were almost all speculations about the identity of this little assistant, a level 10 player. Some people even plan to use chance cards to steal bonuses. Taoran panicked, fearing that he, number 444, would immediately become the target of suspicion and robbery. Fortunately, the water has become muddy. Those who have the opportunity card want to snatch it for themselves, while those who don't have the card want to make their enemies unlucky. As a result, all kinds of false information appeared on the world channel, all of which swore about where they arrived on what date, and suspected that this person of the highest rank was exactly what date. There were actually people who immediately followed the rumors of the world channel staff to use the chance card, but ended up being fooled and robbed. Taoran simply directed and acted, and joined in. He anonymously cursed on the world channel, number 444 is a rip-off. The chance card I finally managed to get together only got 5% of her strength bonus. Lao Wu, didn't you say that she has reached level 90? Why does she get so little bonus? Sun Yang cooperated with her and said anonymously, number 444 has been bald for a long time. 5% is not bad. I just stole her 2% sensitivity bonus, but I regret it to death. If I had known earlier, I would have grabbed that one. Finally, 2 minutes passed and no one came to rob Taoran. At least for the time being, other people's plundering was stabilized. The World Channel began to frequently report to the system because someone was fooled into recruiting the wrong person. The system immediately banned several accounts that were causing discord. The World Channel changed the topic again due to the next piece of news. That is, there is a level 10 assistant player, please work hard to upgrade. All assistant players below level 7 will be eliminated immediately after 24 hours. The World Channel quickly became quiet. Wave after wave of eliminations, now they not only have to seize the time to move up, they also have to upgrade as soon as possible and get enough points as soon as possible. The players are all busy, so no one has time to talk nonsense anymore. At this moment, Taoran was busy drawing prizes for the intermediate weapons arsenal. Taoran already had a sword as a melee weapon and a whip as an intermediate range weapon, so she wanted to choose a long-range weapon this time. Sun Yang's crossbow was very handsome, and Taoran was a little envious. And her own archery skills are also good, so she wants to choose a bow. She quickly understood why this arsenal was intermediate. She chose a longbow that fit her hand well, and it came with 30 arrows. But players can also upgrade bows and arrows. Attack magic stones can be embedded to increase the attack speed of bows and arrows. You can purchase unlimited quivers to ensure you have endless bows and arrows. Taoran walked out of the weapons arsenal with nothing in his sleeves. She first spent 2,000 points to buy an unlimited quiver. I spent another 300 points to buy a quiver that can shrink and reduce weight. She chose 2 more gems. A sapphire increases attack power by 30%. There is also a ruby that is more lovable and can increase damage. After equipping the ruby, each of her arrows will cause secondary damage as long as it hits the target, automatically bringing on the fire attack effect. 1015 gems, to 3000. But Taoran looked at the points balance and saw that there were only 2,500 points left in total. Not enough. She was about to give up a gem, but the system seemed to see through her embarrassment, and actually said that since her total consumption had exceeded 5,000 points, she could get a 20% discount on these 2 gems, and she only had to pay 2,000 points. 400 points. Although the dog system was suspected of deliberately calculating her points, it was a 20% discount. This was the first time the game had been played, and Taoran really couldn't refuse. Even if she had enough points, Taoran actually suspected that she would buy a high-level gem that could increase her attack power by 100%. After dividing the points, she only had 100 points left. Then the dog system was so shameless that it even asked her for 100% of the inlay fee. She held the longbow in her hand and wanted to refuse. But the thunderclouds above her head were gathering momentum, forcing her to hand over the last bit of money in her account. She was dizzy and began to regret as soon as she walked out of the weapons warehouse, but the system said that it would not be returned or exchanged. Taoran asked the system to select a means of transportation. The system refused and told her to choose again after 100 tests. Taoran put the longbow on his back, turned around and prepared to leave. Then, she was frightened. Behind her, there is a person. Real person. He was pulling her backpack and smiling at her. In front of me, is. What did she see? She rubbed her eyes. The little assistant that had always appeared on her system screen, that cute little girl, was now standing in front of her alive. Elder sister. Before Taoran could recover, he was hugged by his assistant. Taoran patted her back, touched her hair, and pinched her tearful face. Be good. Is it really true? Taoran was extremely shocked and was pulled to the platform by the assistant and sat down. Assistant Balabala kept talking for 5 minutes, leaving Taoran dumbfounded. The assistant said her name was Daudu. I was also a player of a survival game. But she was eliminated early. Some of the eliminated players can still be reborn through their own efforts after being recognized by the system, such as her. After her image was scanned, blurred, and decorated, she became a specific type of NPC in this game. They are both the protagonist of the player's game upgrade mission and the player's assistant in the game. Their endings will be closely related to the performance of their respective auxiliary players. They and the player need to help each other, but they can't reveal themselves to be real people. Only after players are willing to spend a lot of points to get them to level 10 can they move from the system to semi-reality. Only when the players they assist successfully pass the level can they return to the original world. This is also their last and only chance to leave. Taoran knew that this was indeed not easy. Not all players are willing to spend points to upgrade, and not all players have the ability to get enough points. So she only now understood why every time she upgraded Daodu, the girl burst into tears, and the last few upgrades, Daodu cried so much that she couldn't help herself. Sister, you ignored me at the beginning and didn't draw a lottery to upgrade. You didn't know that I was so desperate at that time and thought I was finished. What Taoran was curious about was, what about you after that? Are you following me like this? In human form or what? If sister is willing, I will naturally follow her. If sister is not willing, I can go to the NPC in each level to receive additional tasks. The points and rewards I earn belong to you, sister. Taoran nodded. It was such a good thing. Not bad. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 991. Taoran turned on the display screen again. There is no assistant on the originally familiar interface, but there is an extra panel about the assistant. There is a points column and package logo on it. And Taoran also noticed something. After reaching the 100 levels, her system had an additional ranking list. The ranking list is divided into 4 columns. They are the current floor, assistant level, current points amount, arranged from high to low. As for the 4th column, there is also a ranking of. What is? Have no idea. What troubles Taoran is that she ranks first in 2 of the 4 rankings. They are a little assistant level and. In addition, she also ranks second in the column of current floor. No matter how you look at it, she is too eye-catching and hated by others. What makes Taoran a little bit lucky is that the number in the ranking column is not completely blown up. Her mark is not 444, but XX4. This is more or less a little bit of cover. But with such a cover, people should soon guess about her, right? Fortunately, the assistant told her that this ranking system would only be activated after reaching the 100th level. So now there is this ranking list on the display screen, only she and Zhou Chang. Taoran felt a little relieved for the time being. The next ones to reach the 100th floor would also be her companions, so she shouldn't be robbed for a while. But in the long run, it may be sooner or later. Is there anything else she can do? When he dropped the ranking to the bottom, Taoran couldn't help but sigh. She found that the player numbers at the bottom of the 4 rankings were all 148th. In other words, 851 players have been eliminated. So far, the promotion rate of the game is less than 15%. This elimination rate is a bit high. Taoran rummaged through his pockets, looking for a backpack for his assistant, but Daodu waved his hand. No, sister. She patted her small bag that was only 1 palm in size and said, this is also a compressed bag. My food and drink are all provided by the system. Taoran insisted on watching, but Dodo was reluctant and repeatedly emphasized that she had everything. Taoran simply clicked on the assistant's backpack on the panel. Looking through it, there are some basic supplies inside. 2 bottles of water, 2 compressed biscuits, a set of clothes, and a rudimentary dagger. Taoran began to take out supplies from his pocket, including chocolates, dried meat, high-end daggers. He wanted to give Daodu something. Daodu was still refusing. Sister, Just keep it for yourself. I can't be a burden to my sister. When I earn points, my sister will give me some material rewards. Since you are mine, I naturally have to cover you. Taoran couldn't help but stuff these things into the beanie bag. Bailong can take her up a few floors soon. The mission is coming to an end, and she still has enough supplies. It won't be a big deal if she goes out at different points. What's more, she still has a task for Daodu. Taoran asked Daodu to put on a low-key jacket. The two-dimensional clothes she was wearing now were so exaggerated that Taoran felt dizzy just looking at them. Sister, I don't want to wear this. Daodu felt that she could wear the work clothes in her pocket, which was more low-key but also more beautiful. This one. Why? Because I need it. Maybe you can be my cute shield. Ah. You just said that you can go to the NPC to get other tasks. Does that mean you don't have to follow me around, right? Yes. When my sister needs her, I can follow her step by step. If she doesn't need it, I can leave her for up to 10 levels. That's good, Taoran smiled. I don't need you to go to the NPC to get the task, you just help me complete the task. Are you good at acting? Are you interested in playing a player? Although I don't understand what my sister means, I will never refuse anything she asks me to do. Then put on the suit first. Daodu put on his jacket obediently. Taoran looked her up and down. Yes, she looked like a player. Very similar. Taoran quickly gave Daodu some acting training, then synthesized several high-end speakers, and sent a private message to Zhou Chang, Sunyang and others to ask for their cooperation. A minute later, Taoran in the world chat area cursed anonymously. Bad luck. Does anyone know the number of the little girl with 2 braids? This stinky girl pretended to be a pig to eat the tiger, and plotted against me. Right now, this stinky girl is hanging around on the 90+ floor, specializing in pulling people back. I say something here, if anyone sees that girl, remember to teach her a lesson. Sunyang quickly cooperated and asked anonymously, is the person you are talking about upstairs that stinky girl with big eyes and cute appearance? I have met her before, she seems to be number 3 or 4, or it was number 6 or 4. I can't remember exactly. Xiao Wang, who was with Sunyang, said, I've fought against that girl before, and she's really good. She's also charged with electricity. I suspect she's the one who was upgraded to assistant the fastest. Upon hearing that the assistant was suspected of being a level 10 person, the chat area became lively again, and many players remembered this little girl with a rough number. At this time, Daodu had been arranged by Taoran to go downstairs and wander around the 90+ stairs, allowing her to attract the attention of the players going up and let her consider herself a gamer. It is unusual for a little girl to run so fast. Anyone who looks at this girl will definitely think that she has received a lot of bonuses, and everyone will want to cheat some of the bonuses, right? In addition, Sunyang has revealed on the World Channel that the girl's number may be 3x4 or 6x4. This will not only make everyone ignore the number 444, but also waste the player's chance cards on the wrong number. Taoran felt that this was a good way to solve his current crisis. So she also told Daodu that if someone tried to trick her, they could let it out inadvertently and say that she was no XX4 and that her assistant had reached level 10. And put those bad guys in trouble. In addition, with Daodu guarding the stairs, she can also help Taoran inquire about information, count people, etc. And there is a private chat channel between Taoran and Daodu. She can let Daodu do things according to her own wishes, and she can also talk to acquaintances through Daodu without consuming speakers. As for Daodu's safety, there is no need to worry. She is half an NPC. If a game player rashly attacks her in a non-plot environment, they will be struck by lightning. Daodu has not lived in a normal human form for too long. She is quite willing to talk to people, and imitates Taoran and makes a show with people. Don't worry, sister. I'll be walking in the stairwell between the 95th and 99th floors. I know all your teammates and enemies. I'll keep them informed of their progress at any time. Just don't worry. Daudu jumped down the stairs. After thinking about it for a while, Taoran decided to complete the remaining draws first while his luck had increased for many rounds. Otherwise, what if some bad guy comes to snatch away her lucky bonus, and if she draws the lottery later, she will be punished dozens of times. I shudder just thinking about it. Thank you so much for the book Friends Tale number 37830, baby, for the reward. I love you more than anything. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 992. Taoran started her lottery. This time, she didn't bother to take 100 shots, so she just took a picture of all. The lottery results filled the screen one after another. Tens of seconds later, the lottery data was finished and displayed in front of you. The effect of multiple luck bonuses is becoming more and more obvious. The results of the lottery are also getting better and better. After the rewards and punishments in terms of points were offset, her points this time were 2,000 plus, which relieved her who was already broke. In terms of bonuses, after the addition and subtraction of various data, except that the speed decreased by 3%, everything else increased. The strength has been increased by 4%, the sensitivity has been increased by 6%, and even the luck value has been increased by another 4%. As the bonuses increased, Taoran's burden increased. She always felt that it was only a matter of time before she was robbed. It would be a shame for so many of her bonuses to fall into the hands of others. Why not choose the person who inherits her bonuses? Otherwise, let Zhou Chang and the others rob her? She suddenly came up with such an idea. The idea of keeping the rich water from outsiders' fields seems feasible. Anyway, now that she has practiced martial arts and has various high-end weapons in her hands, the bonus seems not so important. Although Taoran had this idea, after thinking about it for a while, he decided to wait. Although Zhou Chang and the others are teammates, they are also potential opponents. She has to get a good ranking in the game, so she has to do this under the condition that she is absolutely ahead. Or transfer your bonus to Xiaoan and other relatively weaker players. Can you help me? In addition to bonuses, the prizes Taoran draws are also getting better and better. She synthesized another pair of golden gloves, and she was so lucky that she directly drew a defensive bracelet and a pack of snacks worth 500 points. She put on the bracelet and let Daudu, who was jumping up and down on the stairs, take the bag of snacks. In fact, Taoran was very grateful to Daudu for allowing her to level up at level 100. Otherwise, she would get one less gift bag, and there would be no reward for the arsenal. From this point of view, Daudu was still her lucky star. She had to take this little girl out. This time, she produced 4 more pass card fragments, but she had not used the gold pass card that had been synthesized last time. In addition, she finally got 2 chance card fragments. Fortunately, her own chance card was finally synthesized. Although she doesn't want to grab anyone's bonus, she doesn't know who to grab. In terms of punishment, it's okay. The standard remains the same. 7. There is also an extended staircase. Taoran began to hesitate. Should he get rid of the punishment now? She suddenly had an idea. She stood up, took out the dragon whisker tied to her lower back, and swung it in the air several times. 10 seconds later, there seemed to be a faint sound of dragon roaring, and Taoran immediately started rushing up the stairs to the 101st floor. Punishment is on. The stairs shook frequently, one step at a time, breaking apart under Taoran's feet. The stairs above can't be reached at a glance, so the lengthening penalty is also activated. Very good. Tao Ran ran as hard as he could. She had a smile on her face, but her steps were awkward. She took a gamble. When her first punishment seemed to be over, Hakuryuwa finally revealed himself. The dragon has jumped up from the 99th floor. A dragon roar came, and Tao Ran's feet were empty. She wasn't falling, but was still going up. At this time, Tao Ran was face down and was caught on the back by a dragon claw, flying out of thin air. If Bailong's eyes could see below, he would definitely find that this cunning human being was overjoyed. Its innocence and kindness were exploited by this human being. The white dragon retracted its claws, and Tao Ran hid in the white dragon's belly. The white dragon is like a wall, helping her block all disasters. Therefore, even if fireballs were flying all over the sky at this moment, they would not be affected at all. There was no way they could hit Tao Ran. Suddenly, hail came again. The white dragon spit out fire, and all the hailstones that were the size of bowls were sprayed dozens of meters away. Under the protection of Bailong, no matter what falls from the sky, no matter what is on the ground, no matter whether it is a natural or unnatural punishment, it is basically worse than pediatrics. Tao Ran didn't even have to put in any effort. All she had to do was hold her chest open and enjoy the special effects and scenes, which were like watching a 3D science fiction movie. Carefree. In just 3 minutes, Tao Ran successfully passed the stairs after surviving 7 punishments. She made the right bet. She is the benefactor of the Bailong family. How could Bailong be so embarrassed to see that his life was in danger? That's illogical. Tao Ran's gamble fully proved that her bet was correct and wise. She took advantage of it without any effort. With the help of Bailong, the punishment on his body was directly cleared. She didn't break the rules, nor did she take the initiative to let Bailong save her. Everything she did was legal. Even the system has nothing to say. Isn't Tao Ran happy? This means that her punishment in the entire game world has basically been completed. She can go on the adventure with peace of mind. Even if her luck bonus is taken away later, how unlucky can she be? When they arrived at the platform on the 101st floor, Bailong put Tao Ran down, and after caring for her for a few words, he let her climb onto its back. I am a level NPC. It is not convenient for me to show my face here. I can only take you through level 99 where I am. I listen to you, Uncle Long. Tao Ran was very obedient. So Bailong swooped down directly with Tao Ran. Just after arriving at the 99th floor platform, before entering, Tao Ran saw Xiao Wang and Sun Yang talking to Daodu, and then, all 3 of them were stuck in place. What? I read it wrong? Although the white dragon spat mist towards them like a covert, they still clearly saw that the person waving to them on the dragon's back was an old acquaintance of theirs. Is this operation so crazy? Xiao Wang and the other 2 were dumbfounded as Bailong rushed into the 99th floor with Tao Ran. The 2 of them hurriedly chased in, wanting to see what was going on, but in the end they only saw a retreating figure. The white dragon disappeared directly into the sky above them. Good guy. How on earth is it done? 30 seconds later, Zhou Chang was also standing there in amazement. At that time, he was going through a trial on the 102nd floor. Suddenly a huge dragon roar came. The NPC in charge of Zhou Chang's trial waved his hand and saw a giant dragon emerging from the horizon in the distance. Tao Ran, who was on the dragon's back, saw Zhou Chang going through the test brought by the 18 bronze men, and couldn't help but wave to him kindly. Zhou Chang's mouth opened into a huge O shape. What the hell? The reason why the stinky girl took her away first was because she was on a hidden mission, right? Fortunately, he still felt embarrassed and thought he would make it up to her when they meet again. Zhou Chang was stunned for a moment, then was stepped on by a bronze man in the chest and rolled to the ground. He cursed, and when he looked up again, he could only see the afterimage of his good captain flying through the sky on a white dragon. Grandmas. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 993. Tao Ran was still thinking that his favorability score with Bai Long should be just a little short of full. So along the way, she flattered him a lot. She said that she was lucky enough to be helped by their dragon clan. It is said that Aunt Long and Uncle Long took her soaring into the sky and allowed her to reach heaven and earth that even immortals could not experience. She has no regrets in her life. She said she was extremely ashamed. She only did a trivial matter, but she troubled Uncle Long and Aunt Long many times. Bai Long is an NPC on the battlefield. If anyone talks to him like this on a daily basis, it is inevitable that he will be very excited. With Bai Long's help, Tao Ran reached a place marked 105 in one breath. Before leaving, Tao Ran also gave Bai Long a simple sketch of himself, which was exactly the cute painting of Long Bao. This time, the system's beeping finally succeeded in ringing in my ears. Bai Long's favorability value is full. Tao Ran received a goodwill gift pack. There are a lot of supplies inside. Just like the Queen's time, a 20% bonus is also given, which can be allocated at will. Tao Ran evenly distributed this part of the bonus among several other settings besides sensitivity. Bai Long roared again, and the NPC on the 105th floor arrived. This is an NPC that looks like a female officer. She wears sunglasses, with the corners of her mouth pulled down. She doesn't smile and talks nonsense. There is no unnecessary expression on her face. She looks particularly handsome. Bai Long said a few words to Tao Ran, who nodded, took out a token, and opened the restriction for Tao Ran. Bai Long, from now on, you will fully enter the battlefield. Work hard. Don't be eliminated, don't let Long bow down. Tao Ran said goodbye to Bai Long, took the token and moved forward. The mountains in front of him didn't look like a battlefield, and Tao Ran didn't see any soldiers. The female NPC just stopped in front of her. Although you were sent by Brother Long, you still have to complete your tasks here. Don't be lazy. The NPC threw out a list in front of Tao Ran. This is the outskirts of the battlefield. Your mission is to find the supplies needed on the list here and transport them to the war zone, where you must find Commander Xiao Ke and hand the supplies over to him. After saying that, the NPC turned around and left. Tao Ran glanced at the list. Apart from a simple map, most of the items needed were minerals and plants. Although the total amount required was not large, it was very complicated, with at least 30 species. Wait. I have something to ask. Tao Ran was confused and had many questions to ask. For example, if she needs a token when she first comes in, can her assistant come in directly? Can you help with the task? For example, are transportation and loading tools provided in the war zone? Another example is how far is it from here to the war zone? What, the things on the supplies list are a bit complicated, and the quantities are. The NPC showed his domineering attitude and hugged his chest. You didn't complete the previous 4 levels of trials. I don't know how you used Brother Long to open the back door for you. But Brother Long is an honest person. Who knows if you cheated, I don't need trash here. Therefore, I have increased the overall difficulty of your task by 20%. It is considered a test. It is not difficult, right? Remember, if there is smoke in the distance and your transportation mission has not been completed when the army sets off, you will be eliminated. If the NPC in front of him didn't have such a bad face, Tao Ran would have wanted to hug her and beg her. When will the army set off? If you need to ask questions, you'll get 1000 points for each question. Tao Ran didn't expect that this NPC would answer like this. That's not true, is it? The NPC's face became even colder. What I want to say has been said just now. You have poor understanding and cannot understand it? If you want to waste my words, I will naturally have to charge you. You will understand next time that there are many things that need to be thought about by yourself. Then could you please repeat your previous explanation? Only say important words once. If you want to listen again, you have to pay 1,000 points. Taoran was speechless. Thank you, goodbye. This time, she was the one who turned around and left indifferently. Forget it, she is poor, so she should understand it herself. After walking a few steps, Taoran looked back and found that the NPC had already disappeared. She lost it? For a moment, looking at the specious diagram in his hand, Taoran was stunned. She suddenly remembered that she still had a prize to draw. That is, the one that is a means of transportation. Taoran immediately turned on the monitor and chose the lottery. The roulette wheel spins rapidly. Taoran was a little excited. In her imagination, the game cannot use lethal weapons, so this place is most likely an ancient battlefield type. Then, I hope I can draw a good horse, preferably a bloody horse or something. But Taoran still guessed wrong. When the pointer fell, a cool jeep suddenly appeared in front of her eyes. Taoran was stunned subconsciously. My own transportation tool is so fashionable. Very good. This is much better than horses. It can also carry Daodu when she comes back, which is also convenient for transportation. Taking a closer look, the choices in the roulette wheel really include the most expensive ones, and this does not seem to be the best tool. Because there are other flying transportation tools such as flying magic carpet, the legend of the Condor heroes, wings, thinking about it makes me feel cool and cool. Of course, there are also bad ones, such as bicycles and bamboo dragonflies. In this comparison, Taoran felt that his off-road jeep was really good. In the following time, Taoran began her life as a miner and a gardener. And her first trouble was that she couldn't understand the diagram. This picture does not represent up, north, south, left, west, right, and east. After observing for a long time, Taoran finally identified several hills according to the drawing. She didn't want to be eliminated, and she didn't know when the smoke would start, so she could only give herself enough blood. For a long time after that, she was seen traveling across the mountains. It took her almost 10 hours to complete the collection of all the ores. This was all due to her experience of mining on the interstellar garbage star that day. It took her almost 8 more hours to find all the plants. In order to achieve her goal, she almost walked dozens of mountains around her. If she hadn't had a good memory, she would have roughly memorized all the plants and minerals she had seen along the way. She didn't know how long this level would take her. If she hadn't been mentally strong and remembered every road up and down the mountain, she might have been lost in each of these mountains that looked the same. When Taoran was about to send supplies to the battlefield, she saw Zhou Chang arriving. Taoran stayed far away for a few minutes and saw that Zhou Chang had also taken out a means of transportation. This guy has good luck as always. He hit the magic carpet straight away. Then Taoran was very proud, honked the car horn, and left this place with Zhou Chang gritting his teeth. Taoran witnessed Zhou Chang's whole process from being happy to crying. The magic carpet is indeed romantic and high-end, but Zhou Chang can't control it. This magic carpet actually requires instructions in Arabic throughout. Zhou Chang was nervous and made several mistakes in succession, causing him to fall miserably from the air again and again. In this comparison, your own tools are better. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 994. Taoran was in a good mood. Driving her off-road vehicle through the mountain roads, listening to the wind and seeing the scenery, she felt that life was extremely beautiful. The feeling of being free, unfettered, and unburdened is really great, but I don't know when I will be able to live such a life in reality. However, the happiness did not last long. Taoran thought that the level would be over once he collected enough supplies and submitted them, but who would have thought? Before the car reached the military camp, she encountered a situation. The beauty came to an abrupt end. First there were lightning and thunder, torrential rain, and strong winds with at least level 12 force, forcing her to rescue various plants that she had finally collected. Finally, the way forward was blocked. There was no river on the drawing she got, so a big river directly blocked the way. She sent a message to Zhou Chang, who was on the same floor. After learning that the guy was still busy mining ore, she could only find a way to be self-reliant. When she was hesitating whether to take a detour or find a way to cross the river, she never expected that a group of troops in military uniforms came. This group of people were upright and heroic. They should be soldiers patrolling nearby. Taoran stepped forward to inquire about Shangguan Xiaoke, and the other party bluntly said that he knew him. "Are you delivering supplies?" "Right. Then come with us. I'll take you to Shangguan Xiaoke." Taoran got in the car and left with the group. But after discovering that there were soldiers on horseback in front and behind her, and these people were still glancing at her from time to time, she felt a little uneasy. These people really know Xiaoke? Are they really from the military camp where he is going? Why are they so idle? Escort yourself the whole way and help yourself? Don't they have a mission of their own? Even if it's an escort, it doesn't need to be so strict, right? Not quite right. The most important thing is, based on the understanding of the dog system, and according to the pattern of frequent natural disasters just now, it is absolutely impossible to be so simple now. Maybe, man-made disasters have already come. After thinking about it like this, Taoran couldn't remain calm. She told the captain of the group of soldiers outside the car that something suddenly occurred to her and she had to go back to where she was. She thanked them for their enthusiastic guidance. After saying that, she stepped on the brakes and locked the car doors and windows. As expected. Just as he was about to turn around, the long knife in the captain's hand had already hit the front hood of the car hard. Grandmas. It's really a test and a sure one. There is indeed something wrong with this group of soldiers. Taoran naturally wanted to leave immediately. She planned to hit a way out even if she bumped into it. But, how could it be so simple? After finally turning the car around, I saw that there were several logs lying across the ground where I came from, and the way out was blocked. There were woods on both sides of the road, and her car couldn't drive at all. At this time, the other party had already slashed the car window with several knives. Seeing that the car window had cracked several times, Taoran thought to herself, no, she still had to rely on this car to complete her mission. Anyway, what the other side uses is a cold weapon, so don't be afraid. How about she get rid of all these guys? After thinking this, she took out the car key, opened the door, rolled out with her sword, and fought with a group of soldiers. The other party shouted, "This is Xiaoke's man, our opponent, you're welcome, kill him." Taoran was already cursing in his heart, this garbage system. The drawings given were unclear, and only the mountains could be seen without dividing the spheres of influence of each party. She followed the route and was absolutely right. Who knew she would have to pass through the enemy's sphere of influence? The force value of this group of NPCs is not low, and they cooperate well with each other. Taoran's fight was not easy. Her greatest advantage was her Qinggong. Facing the enemy's rain of arrows, she dodged left and right and hurried up the tree. At the same time, she also took out her own bow and arrow. She quickly brought down 7 or 8 people. But after the other party whistled a few times, she saw soldiers coming from a distance. Taoran wiped the sweat from his forehead, but there was no other way except to try his best. 3 minutes later, there were 10 more enemy troops. Taoran panicked. She found that the newly arrived group of people cooperated better. More than half of them drew their bows and started shooting at Taoran on the tree. In fact, Their intention was not to drink, they were not shooting at her at all, but to pin her to the tree. Their target is her car. 3 military men were tapping on her car window. The windshield in front of the car is broken, and someone is climbing into the car through the hood. What they want is her supplies. The group of people was moving out bags of plants and ores. Taoran was very anxious, these were the fruits of his endless labor. Except for some of the larger ores in the trunk, she put all the other supplies in the car. If they were all taken away, wouldn't it mean that she would have to start from scratch again? Seeing that several soldiers had loaded the 2 bags of supplies they had grabbed onto their horses, Taoran was no longer interested in fighting. While dodging the shots from below, he drew his bow and shot at the horses that had already started. The enemy is outnumbered and we are outnumbered. We shoot 1 horse and 2 horses, but we can't stop the opponent's numbers. Seeing that Taoran was blocked and had no time to move, the other enemies stopped chasing her and were busy grabbing supplies and running away. Relying on their familiarity with the terrain, the opponent fled in all directions on horseback. No matter how strong Taoran's personal ability is, it is impossible to distinguish between several of her. There is nothing you can do about one thing and not the other. Fortunately, she had taken out the car key early in the morning, otherwise the car might have been stolen. She tried her best. Although her archery skills were quite accurate, she shot 5 horses in a row and snatched back several packages of supplies. But 4 horses escaped. And she had to protect the car and the remaining supplies. She didn't dare to chase them rashly, so she had to give up. By the time the road where a lot of logs were piled was cleared, she was almost exhausted and fell down. As soon as she counted the supplies, she almost fainted. 1/3 of her supplies were robbed. It was impossible to snatch it back. She had to go back and collect it again. She didn't know when the smoke would start, and she was afraid of being eliminated. She didn't dare to delay for a minute, so she could only quickly return the way she came. Zhou Chang, who was basically able to control the magic carpet, found her and drove over on the magic carpet. This time, Taoran was extremely envious. Is a magic carpet much better than your own car? Flying in the sky, it should be difficult for the enemy to sneak attack. And in the sky, you are not afraid of the river blocking the road. You can probably fly directly over it. Looking at it this way, I am still unlucky. When Zhou Chang saw Taoran's tattered car, he knew something was wrong with her and wanted to know more about it. Taoran glanced back, wanting to tell him to be careful on that road. But helplessly, before the hint was given, the originally cloudless sky was already covered with dark clouds, and the thunder and lightning were about to strike in minutes. Zhou Chang had no choice but to say hello and leave, going to the other side to collect. Taoran was already familiar with the produce on each hilltop. This time she only needed 3 hours to finally collect all the needed supplies again. She also deliberately spent an extra hour to prepare a spare portion of her supplies. She hopes that this time, she can successfully walk this route. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 995. Taoran, who was on the road for the second time, no longer had the same free and cheerful mood as before. Off-road vehicles have basically become convertibles because they have no windshield. The window glass on both sides of the car was also somewhat damaged, so she had to spend time to get wooden strips to fix it, and then spent some time to make a weatherproof baffle for the front window that could be lowered at any time. Before setting off again, Taoran had to take a detour. This time, Taoran first drove the car to the top of a mountain, observed the nearby terrain with a telescope, and locked onto several plains. If the troops want to camp, it will most likely only be on the plains. After some observation, She roughly determined the possible garrison location of her own military camp. She was about to leave when she suddenly saw Zhou Chang in the telescope. It's just that too much time was wasted on various things, and that guy Zhou Chang has also prepared the supplies. Tao Ran sighed. At this rate, I'm afraid Zhou Chang will finish this task before him, right? However, after Tao Ran glanced at Zhou Chang a few more times, her envy for him gradually disappeared. Zhou Chang, like Tao Ran, soon encountered a storm. Unfortunately, his flying carpet didn't even have a roof. When the wind and rain hit, he was like a small boat in the ocean. It was basically like a roller coaster and was caught in the storm, with all kinds of violent rhythms. Tao Ran looked through the telescope and seemed to be able to faintly hear the guy's cry for help. The first wave of strong wind passed, and Zhou Chang's flying carpet fell straight down. Tao Rang was just about to ask if he was okay, but he had already sent a message. It was really a message for help. The voice message was clearly audible: "Captain, my supplies fell into the forest due to the storm. I came down to search, but I didn't expect a team of people to steal my supplies and attack me. Where are you? Can you save me?" Before Zhou Chang could finish shouting, he heard a scream. In the telescope, it was clearly visible that Zhou Chang was sitting on the flying carpet again, and dozens of long arrows below were already greeting him. Several of them seemed to have penetrated his flying carpet. At this moment, Tao Ran no longer envied Zhou Chang's means of transportation. His ragged blanket was much more dangerous than his car. Tao Ran sent a message: "I'm too far away from you. If I rush over, you'll be robbed. You'd better not ask for supplies and run away." Zhou Chang lay on his blanket and ran away, while the storm here in Tao Ran also arrived. Tao Ran was prepared, put down the barrier, and took shelter from the wind and rain for a while before setting off. This time, because I was under constant observation all the way, I was never blocked by the river or encountered an enemy. However, the problem comes again. An hour later, she successfully found the military camp with the flag shack. "This is it, right?" But the deputy general came and informed that General Xiaoke was not here now, saying that she could unload the cargo and rest until the general came back. Tao Ran was worried. According to the mission, they were asked to deliver the supplies to General Xiaoke. What if the general didn't come back for a while? She didn't have time to waste time. If smoke rose while she was waiting, her mission would be judged to have failed and she would have to die in agony. She waited for a quarter of an hour, but when Xiaoke was not seen, she asked her adjutant Xiaoke's specific location and planned to go find him. But the adjutant refused. "Senior Xiaoke's specific location is a military secret. How can I let you know? You can either wait here, or unload the supplies first and go wherever you want." Tao Ran had no choice but to swallow his anger and decided to wait a few more minutes to see. Tao Ran simply climbed to the roof of the car and used a telescope to observe whether there were any soldiers approaching. She didn't see the soldiers coming, but she noticed that a roadblock had been set up in her path. What happened? Still, she was calm and relaxed, and she seemed to catch many eyes focused on her. This feeling is very bad. She followed the direction of the line of sight and suddenly looked back, meeting the panicked and guilty eyes of a soldier. Wrong. She jumped off the roof of the car and was about to get into the car when a soldier stopped her. The man brought the meal and asked her to eat something first. There was milk and sandwiches on the tray. "Is it such a good meal?" The sandwich was filled with eggs, beef and cheese slices. It was too much food deep in the mountains and forests. "You brought supplies, you deserve to eat something good." The soldier did not look at her. "What did you have for lunch today?" When Tao Ran asked, the soldier's head lowered a little. "We serve vegetable soup with bread. It's so hard." Tao Ran picked up the sandwich, broke it in half, and handed half of it to the soldier's mouth. "I'll treat you to something to eat." "No. No need. The soldier backed away, but was held back by Tao Ran. If you don't eat, you won't give me face. No need. While pulling, the soldier was still retreating, and with an accidental push, the half sandwich fell to the ground. The scene froze, and the soldiers looked extremely ugly. Tao ran threw the other half of the sandwich back on the tray. This time, the soldier was not in a hurry to leave. Instead, he apologized and persuaded Tao Ran to eat the remaining half of the sandwich. Or, drink some milk. Tao Ran laughed. Is she stupid? Can't she see there's something wrong with the food? She stood near the car door and called the soldier over. The soldier was still saying, "You are a distinguished guest. If you don't eat or drink, I can't explain it." Tao Ran found the right angle, and after confirming that all prying eyes were blocked, he turned the back of his hand, and a top-notch dagger had already been stabbed into Xiao Bing's chest. Although the soldier was wearing iron armor, this high-end dagger cut through iron as easily as clay and easily penetrated that layer of armor. The skin was torn and the flesh was torn, and the dagger had already penetrated 2 centimeters into the flesh. If he pushed it a little further, the poor soldier would be gone. Tao Ran grabbed his shoulders and hissed. The soldier didn't dare to struggle and scream, just for fear of her being cruel. Tao Ran, I can let you go, and you don't have to betray your organization. I'll ask you 2 questions, and you can just nod and shake your head. The soldier didn't resist anymore, so he acquiesced. The lunch was poisonous, or was it a sweat medicine? The soldier nodded slightly. Isn't this the military camp of General Xiaoke? Xiaobing closed his eyelids and pointed his finger again. If you look at it, you can see the military flag not far away. On the flag is Shak. At first glance, it is indeed Shak, but if you look carefully, is it more accurate to call it Shak? Wrong go. This is Camp Shake, not Camp Shake. The soldier nodded again. Tao Ran hissed. So, she walked into the enemy camp by herself. Dog system. It was clearly intentional. Deliberately using English to confuse. The NPC did the same thing before. He only announced the mission verbally, but Tao Ran didn't hear it accurately. She would be wrong, in fact it was almost inevitable. She pushed the soldier away and rolled directly into the car from the hood. Before the other party could react, she quickly hit the accelerator and drove straight out. It's a good thing she didn't unload everything, otherwise she would have to go back and collect supplies again. This time, she won't get off the car. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 996. Thanks to a trick he had used to see through the enemy camp, and after some rampage and longbow attacks, Tao Ran finally got out of trouble. At this time, her car was shot with bows and arrows and was almost like a hedgehog. Continuing to move forward, Tao Ran encountered another ambush and a wounded man calling for help. She didn't care at all and just moved on. Ridiculous. On the way she also encountered an artillery bombardment. After crossing many lines of fire and going through hardships and obstacles, she arrived at the next military camp where Commander Xiaoke was suspected to be. This time, she was alert the entire time. After grabbing a soldier for confirmation and seeing Xiaoke's military ID card with her own eyes, she felt relieved. Xiaoke led people to count and confirm the supplies Tao Ran had brought. The bumpy and difficult journey along the way caused many materials to be damaged to varying degrees. At this time, the spare supplies Tao Ran collected came in handy. Finally, according to the list, all materials were submitted in sufficient quantities. Thank you, Xiaoke swiped her pass, and a green light on the pass showed that the completion rate was 100%. What will happen if it is not completed 100%, Tao Ran was curious. Then even if this level is not over, I have to do hard work and use my working hours to make up for the missing supplies, Xiaoke raised an eyebrow. If you're missing a percentage, you'll have to work for an hour. Tao Ran exhaled and felt happy again. She was fully prepared. Even with extra supplies, 2 supplies could barely reach the required number. If the players were a little careless or damaged a few items on the way, it would be a matter of course whether they could pass the level after a few hours of hard work. For sure. After Tao Ran handed in the task, he followed Xiaoke to the training ground. The system beeped, and she got 1,000 points for this difficult first-level task. Soon, the 106 sign finally appeared on the road ahead. The game is getting closer. She sent a message to Zhou Chang, telling him that she was leaving this floor. He wanted to give him some hints to make more preparations, but the clouds suddenly thickened overhead again, so Tao Ran had no choice but to give up. At this time, Tao Ran discovered that the 100% completion number on the pass in his hand had disappeared and changed to 137. What's the meaning? Xiaoke told her that the supplies she submitted exceeded the prescribed limit. For each additional item, the number will increase by 1. She submitted 37 more items, so the number now reads 137. Tao Ran, will these points be useful later? Xiaoke smiled and said nothing. Tao Ran understood that he had acquiesced. She was so sorry. There was still a lot of room in her car, and she originally wanted to collect more supplies to fill her car. It's not that she didn't foresee that the materials could be used as useful points, but that she wanted to be the same as the previous series of plots, even if it was just giving away materials everywhere, in order to increase the favorability of NPCs. Unfortunately, she was worried that the smoke would start at any time and that she would be eliminated, so she really didn't dare to waste time. Hey, if she were a little bolder, she could at least increase this number to 180. The new tasks on the 106th floor were announced by Xiaoke himself. Contents: boost and annihilate enemies. She has 2 choices. First, you can go to the hunting game field in our military camp for exercise. For every level you pass there, you can get 50-100 points according to the difficulty. The second option is to kill the enemy directly on the battlefield. For every person you kill, you will get 3-10 points according to the opponent's combat power. Choose one of the 2 above and wait until your total points reach 500 to successfully pass the level. The first player to accumulate 1000 points in this battle will be the captain of the next round of missions. Within 3 days after the captain is selected, all players who have not reached this level will be eliminated. You are the first to come to this level, so you have a natural advantage. Now you can choose the path you want to take. Tao Ran finally felt happy. Her points start at 137, which is also her advantage. Not to mention tasks like killing enemies. It shouldn't be too much of a problem if we get a team leader, right? What's the benefit of being a captain? The captain can later select some of the NPCs and players he wants to add to his team. He can order players in the team. 2% of the team's total points will be directly added to the captain. Tao Ran knew that his prediction was correct. The next few levels should be team tasks. And points are the most important thing. The captain can get extra points, which is so tempting. In fact, even if there is no such thing, just relying on the captain to choose someone, she is bound to win. Now that several of her team members were in the first echelon, she naturally wanted to quickly absorb them into the team. While no one else is coming now, she must seize the opportunity to use the time advantage she has gained to widen the gap with those who come after her as much as possible. It happened to be nightfall, and after grabbing some food, Tao Ran simply took a nap to recharge his batteries. She had not slept for nearly 30 hours, and she was already tired and sleepy. She guessed that when Zhou Chang reaches this level, he will naturally look for her, and then it will be a natural alarm clock. So she slept particularly soundly this night. When I woke up it was already broad daylight. There was no news from Zhou Chang, obviously he still hadn't arrived. Taoran sent a message to Daodu. Now Daodu can only move on the 97th to 106th floors. Following Taoran's instructions, Daodu has acted as a high-level player to several players who have reached the top, and accidentally exposed her innocence as a child, letting people hear that she is 774. This is what Taoran indicated. The real number 774 was the one that Taoran saw being eliminated at the natural disaster level when he went upstairs not long after the game started. Therefore, even if he pretended to be someone else, it would not be easy for his secret to be revealed and he would not harm anyone. Daodu's desire to perform is quite strong, even Ah Zhong and Lele have successfully deceived them. The reputation of 774 had already been established, so Taoran asked Daodu to come to the 106th floor to help. Anyway, it's about grabbing points, one more manpower, one more help. And Daodu also told her that many people have already arrived at the 90+ floor. Taoran was silent. This means that soon, many people will be able to see the leaderboard. Being so far ahead, it was inevitable that she would not become a target. Taoran knew very well that even if number 444 still had cover, sooner or later the chance card would take away all her bonuses. Rather than being passive, it is better to take the initiative to give the players before they reach the 100th floor. Taoran had enough small speakers, so she sent private messages to Xiaoan and Sunyang, briefly explaining her position, and solemnly insisted on ordering them as captain to use chance cards to plunder her bonuses. The reason why Xiaoan and Sunyang were given priority was because they were women. Taoran wanted to help. In the end, her luck continued. Xiaowen, who had already synthesized the chance card at the 70+ level, directly obtained nearly 250% of Taoran's sensitivity at Taoran's request. Of course, this was also Taoran's largest bonus. It's hard for you to get far just by luck. Taoran heard that Xiaoan had just reached the 80+ floor. Afraid that she would be eliminated if she didn't hurry up, Taoran hoped that he could help her. What I give you is the bonus you need most at this time. I hope that with my bonus, you can move faster. Xiaoan never expected that she would have so much sensitivity, and she cried immediately. Sunyang was just as confused as she was. Sunyang got Taoran's speed bonus.